There's a bug. I'm documenting the launch of my business on YouTube. Will it succeed? Let's find out. I'm showing my beta testers pretty soon. I want to make sure I get most of the bugs out of the software. I seem to have gotten the obvious ones, and the new ones are kind of weird and subtle, which is probably a good sign because it means I'm not just misspelling a variable name, but at the same time they're a little bit harder to track down. But let me go over my super high-tech process of how I track bugs. Yeah, it's this. Basically a text file, bugstofix.rtf. And I've got the bugs that I have to fix, and also it's basically a to-do list. A lot of these are just features I want to add. And how do I prioritize them? I put the high priority ones on top, or I sometimes write high priority. And then here's the really most important feature of my bug tracking software, is that I have this huge bit at the bottom called done, which I put when I've fixed a bug, which makes me super, super happy. Of course, to find those bugs, I have to test the software. And I do that by basically using it. I mean, I use the software as I create it. As I upload models, I have to create art for that. I create it for things like social media, promotions, ads, demos. So I'm constantly using it and finding things. And I mean, I've even used it for clients too. So I am just constantly trying to use it, go through it, find stuff. There is more automated testing as well. Django, the backend I'm using, has a great way of doing automated tests. And you can see I actually just ran a bunch. I ran 114 in 270 seconds. Well, yeah, it took a while because it had to go back and forth between Stripe. Now here, I'll run a couple just to show you how they work. Now, I should note here, these are just tests for the backend, the database, structure, stuff like that. And a lot of them I wrote while I was writing the backend. And since I had to test it, I just wrote a test, and now I can keep running them and make sure they still work even after I've done a whole bunch of other stuff. The front end's a bit trickier. There are some automations you can do, but mostly you just gotta run through it and see what works. Especially with a visual product like mine, errors often come down to something that just doesn't quite look right. And as I said, the bugs have been getting weirder and more subtle. Here's a weird one I had recently. When I'd upload a Photoshop file, it would basically appear twice. I'm still not 100% sure what caused it, but I basically had to tell it the JavaScript equivalent of knock it off. If you've got one uploaded, that's enough. Stop already. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and run through everything, get a checklist if necessary, and just make sure it all works. And that's basically it. You just got to make sure your software is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And you'll never get every single weird edge case. I mean, I try to find some, and I'm sure my beta testers will find a few more, but you know, ultimately, you just got to fix what you can fix. And then sometimes maybe if it's a weird edge case, you can just prevent people from going there, or otherwise just maybe just stop it for a second, reroute them. You know, whatever you can do to fix it. And ultimately, you just want to make sure it's usable, which goes well beyond bug fixes. And yes, it's snowing here in New York City, the day after Easter.